Om Mano Javam Marutatuya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Vadishta Vadatmajam Vanarayuta Mukyam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye. Welcome, dear devotees, back finally after a long hiatus, returning to our examination, going slowly but surely through the 40 verses of the Hanuman Chalisa, taking loosely kind of 2 verses at a time. Last week, we were covered what Shankara Suvana Ke Sarinanda Teja Matapraha. I'm messing up the words. Shankara Suvana. Hanuman as an incarnation of Shiva. And someone in the comments pointed out that not all traditions focus on Hanuman as the incarnation of Shiva. In Madhva Sampradaya, Hanuman is directly considered the incarnation of Vayu, who is his father, and the kind of mythology that has come down to us, makes room for both of these interpretations. For Madhvans, it's very big because they also believe Madhvacharya to be an incarnation of Vayu, and thus intimately related with Lord Hanuman. But for our purposes, we like the Shakta Shaiva side of things, so we gave things from that perspective, and later on I will go on to talk about Srila Madhvacharya. But now we are on to our next verse of this famous hymn, this Vidyavana Guni Atichatura Rama Kaja Karibe Ko Atura. The next chopais, these couplets that make up this Hanuman Chalisa that so many of us chant, but we don't always, kind of grok the deeper meaning of each of these little phrases. It tells us something very, very profound about the nature of this being called Hanuman, who we call upon. You are learned, vidyavan guni atichatur. You are endowed with good gunas, good qualities. You are virtuous, and chatur, you're very intelligent or clever. Sometimes it is called Rama kaja karibe ko atura. You are always eager to do the work of Lord Rama. Beautiful, beautiful verse. Vidyavana. What is vidya? Vidya means knowledge, but it is not just any kind of knowledge. It is kind of the highest form of knowledge. Vidya is said specifically to refer to knowledge of the scriptures, knowledge of the Vedas. And we don't normally think of Hanuman as someone who knows the Vedas. Hanuman, is someone who's generally considered to be outside of the purview of Vedic society. Certainly in the Valmiki text of the Ramayana, he is. And he's representative of these vanaras. We will talk specifically about who these vanaras are in a later lecture. That we call Hanuman a monkey, and we've addressed his monkeyhood before specifically, but we have not quite talked about what exactly are these beings, vanars. But safe to say they're forest dwellers. They are people who live outside of the structures and rules of Vedic society. So how would Hanuman have access to Vidya? He is worshipped by pundits and scholars and Brahmins and people in these more exclusive, more elite, more gate-kept sectors of quote-unquote Hindu society who take this knowledge, and their job, sometimes they act like their whole job is to keep this knowledge away from the unwashed masses. They are the vanguards, the gatekeepers of spirituality. So how does Hanumanji, who is supposedly outside of all of this, have access to this knowledge of Vedas and Upanishads and Dharma Shastra and Ayurveda and Jyotish, astrology? All of these are categorized under the category of Vidya, traditional knowledge, traditional wisdom. And one of the explanations in the mythology for this is that Hanuman learned all of them from Suryadeva, the sun. There is a great story that we will discuss in depth in a later verse. It's referred to in a later verse where Hanuman, when he is young, he looks at the sun and he thinks, oh, that this looks like a juicy, ripe mango for me to eat. And so he tries to eat the sun. And of course, when in mythology, when someone eats the sun, there are lots of problems. And so, Hanuman is associated with the sun in that way, but also in the mythology, in the texts, the Puranas that come down to us, the sun becomes Hanuman's guru. Not a human guru. He doesn't go to a Brahmin. He doesn't go to a sage. He goes directly to the sun himself. Aditya Hridayam Punyam. This verse from the, Rama himself is also associated with the sun. His verse that he recites, this Aditya Hridayam, that contains this line. I'm pretty sure it contains this line that's oft quoted by Ram Dass and others. Salvation is his to him who keeps the sun in his heart. The Sauryas were a big school of bhakti before sun worship was sort of absorbed into the rest of Hindu society. Now everyone chants Gayatri Mantra, everyone worships the sun. Same thing happened with the cult of Ganesha, which was once independent but now is subsumed into the Shaiva Shakta side of things. And I think just as Ganesha has been absorbed into Shaivism and Shaktism, Surya worship is a pan-Hindu thing, but especially in Vaishnavism, because the Surya is often hailed as a manifestation of Narayan. Surya Narayan, he is often called. And so there are one of these stories associating Surya with Vishnu worship and with one of Vishnu's greatest devotees, Lord Hanuman, the luminous one. Hanuman doesn't go to a conduit to get his light. He goes to the source of light itself. And so many stories say that his parents send him to the sun. Mother Keshari and Anjana, they're advised to send him in various ways to the sun and ask the sun to be his guru. And the sun, understandably nervous, maybe, to see this monkey, this monkey leaps up and flies to him, begging, "Please, master, let me be your pupil." And the sun, and this is from Philip Lutkendorf's book that we've been borrowing extensively from. The son replies that, although he would be happy to accept such an enthusiastic pupil, circumstances do not permit him to do so. "You see," he says, "I have to move across the sky on this chariot day and night, never slackening my pace and always facing forward. I don't get a day off. The sun's got to come up." Right? The sun can't take a break in order to give you instruction. How could I possibly give you instruction? Hanuman replies that this need will present no difficulty. In order not to inconvenience his guru, he will run backward in front of the sun's chariot, matching its pace, and constantly facing Surya so as to receive instruction from his lips. He's running backwards, flying backwards, learning from Surya, who's explaining the scriptures to him. The sun god, knowing Hanuman's divine nature, consents to this arrangement. He also realizes that Hanuman already possesses all knowledge and is merely honoring him in order to set an example of respect for the guru-pupil tradition. In this manner, Hanuman, the perfect student, quickly learns the whole of the Vedas and their angas, their limbs, flawlessly, memorizing each mantra and verse. Hanuman's mind is lightning fast. Right? We talked about Hanuman, has a lightning-bodied one. He also has a lightning mind, can keep up with things. He's worshipped by scholars for this reason. He has incredible presence of mind. And he says, when he can learn no more, the sun blesses him and gives him permission to return to the earth. Hanuman, however, asks permission to give the customary guru gift, the dakshina of a departing student. The sun at first demurs, saying that he needs nothing. But when Hanuman repeatedly presses him, he requests that Hanuman exercise his vast knowledge in the service of the sun's own son and partial incarnation, the monkey prince Sugriva. He says, I have this son Sugriva, who, we've talked about the story of Bali and Sugriva. Sugriva is a very powerful personality, a great personality. He can be a bit wayward. He has a tendency to go off course. And so Surya says, my son is down on earth. I give you the assignment of being his advisor and in many ways his protector. And this is the origin of many incidents that we find in the Ramayana text. There are other versions of this. Of this story. Hanuman is so intelligent, another version says, that he is able to absorb all the verbal wisdom of the Vedic corpus in a mere fortnight. In 2 weeks, he recites, he knows all 4 Vedas, all the Upanishads, everything that there is to know in Vedic knowledge. The sun god, however, is flattered by having such a pupil, in reality Shiva himself, and desires to extend the period of instruction. He says, I love teaching this kid. He is so delightful. He is so, erudite that I just want to be able to teach him all of this stuff all over again. Hanuman is in many ways the perfect student. No wonder people, go flock to Hanuman temples along with Saraswati temples. Hanuman, Ganesh, and Saraswati, these are the deities people worship before their exams. They are particularly the deities of intellectual kind of teacher types, those who teach, especially those who teach the scriptures. In my puja, before I worship any deities, I worship Ganesha, Saraswati, and Hanuman. I personally, as a scholarly minded person, I consider them my own protective deities. I am much more, if only they'd bless me with a modicum of Hanuman's quick-wittedness. I'm very dull to kind of catch on, right? But he repeatedly causes Hanuman to forget what he has learned, so the lessons continue for many months. And seeing Hanuman's willing acquiescence in this duplicity, and pleased by his perfect devotion, Surya finally releases him, adding the boon that henceforth those who invoke Hanuman's name will never forget their lessons. And this goes for scholarly lessons as well as life lessons. Hanuman, I think, speaking personally, when I've had to learn my hardest life lessons, Hanuman is the deity that has taken me in and taken shelter of me. And I think many devotees, can say the same. When life is kind of, when our minds in particular have gotten ourselves into a pickle. I know those of us who struggle with mental illness, who struggle with, racing thoughts, anxiety, delusions, any type of paranoia, right? Hanuman is the force that brings back remembrance. Forgetfulness and remembrance are huge themes in Hanuman's story. He remembers the story of Lord Ram, in particular, but also, as we will see from his other story about Surya, he is caused by a curse from the gods to forget his powers and remembers them only when his life purpose is activated, when he meets Sri Rama. And that is a story we will tell. And these are associated with the sun because the sun is the illuminator. The sun is the one who brings light to darkness. And so Hanuman he demonstrates his power over remembering and forgetting and re-remembering. What is sadhana but remembering and forgetting and then re-remembering? Every day we remember, I do my Bhagavatam class, I do my arti, and then we go to sleep and I forget all about God. And in the morning I have to get myself out of bed, and many of us scroll on my phone, although I need to stop doing that, many of us can say. But then we go to remember again. We go to our yoga mat. We go to our puja mandir. We go to our japa, our kirtan, our study, whatever it is that we do, our meditation. And we remember once again. Another version says, asked by his mother to seek instruction from the sun, Hanuman seats himself in meditation facing east and begins repeating this Gayatri mantra, which invokes the sun as the spiritual illuminator and the source of wisdom. He remains in meditation the whole day, following the course of the sun across the sky until it sets in the west. In this way, he becomes, as it were, an antenna to absorb all knowledge which exists in the form of the invisible sonic vibrations running through the ether, comparable to, though more subtle than, the television and radio signals that we are familiar with nowadays. Hanuman the sun in many ways is the source of Hanuman's power. Vishnu shining through the light of the sun. He is, a conduit for the love of Sita and Rama. What do we see in the saints but they're conduits for the love of Sita and Rama? This will be, this leads us into our next story, but we have a few points to cover first. But that Hanuman is a deity that's associated with being a conduit, with being a messenger. He is called Ramaduta. We discussed it in other words. He is Rama's messenger. He plays the role of as a messenger. Dusta also means kind of like a representative. He carries out the work of Rama. Only what Rama does. Hanuman only does what his Lord makes him do. And he is this kind of perfect conduit. And he is eager to do Rama's work. What does it mean to be a conduit for Rama's work? This is an article I've quoted before, a Diwali remembrance by the Hindu theologian Anantanand Rambachan. And so why does Rama have work? Rama is God. Why does he need this monkey servant to work for him? When in reality, this is part of God's will. Dr. Rambachan says, in spite of the belief that Rama is the divine in human form, there is a consistent feature of his mode of acting in the world which the Ramayana calls to our attention. Rama continuously seeks help to accomplish his purposes, small or great. In fact, we see Rama's life is a story of such partnerships. These examples fill the pages of the Ramayana. The point of all these examples in the Ramayana cannot be missed. God's purposes are accomplished through partnership with human beings. God seeks the active cooperation of human beings. The Bhagavad Gita, another one of our sacred texts, describes the divine in the 13th chapter as having hands everywhere, feet everywhere, eyes, heads, faces, and ears everywhere. Although a verse like this is often read as speaking of the divine omniscience and omnipotence, it is faithful to the Hindu tradition to read such a text as a teaching that our hands, legs, eyes, heads, and ears are all instruments for the work of the divine in the world. This verse repeats the word everywhere, sarvataha, to emphasize all hands. God's hands are not just Hindu hands. Christian hands, Muslim hands, Jewish hands, Buddhist hands, or the hands of those with no religious commitments. God's hands are black hands, brown hands, and white hands. And I would add monkey hands, human hands, wings, all of God's creatures. No hands are excluded. All hands are God's hands. So, in this world, God relies on us. God, yada yada hidarmasya doesn't just mean Krishna is going to come down in a cloud and, destroy the evildoers and uplift the righteous. What he means by that is something much, much subtler, in that we can look and see God's will appearing in those fighting for justice, those teaching spiritual knowledge, those trying to live good, moral, ethical lives every single day. And we go to our final verse of the evening, our final part of our final contemplations. Prabhu charitra sunibe ko rasya Rama lakana Sita manabasya. You delight in hearing God's glories, Prabhu charitra, and Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana reside in your mana, which means mind, but it also means heart. Mind and heart have the same connotation. I believe in Hebrew as well as in Sanskrit, two of the world's most ancient and sacred languages. The heart and the mind are not separate. Thinking and feeling are not separated. So he has Ram, Lakshman, and Sita in his mind, in his intellect, and also in his emotions. On all levels, he has dedicated himself to Sita and Rama. This Prabhu Charitra means God's glory as it's translated here, but it also means God's story. So Charitra, we say this Sai Sat Charitra, the holy story of the life of Sai Baba. The Buddha Charitra of Ashvaghosha is a poem that I studied and did a project on in college. One of an incredible poetic work describing the life of the Buddha. Charitra means, or charita means, I think, often specifically like a biography, a legend of someone's life story. And Hanuman is dedicated to this story, participating in this story, propagating this story. It is said that as long as Ramayana remains on earth, that there are people reciting Ramayana, Hanuman is here. Wherever Ramayana is told, Hanuman then comes. And there's a delightful narrative which relates to this forgetting and remembering, where, at bedtime in the forest, Mother Anjana tells little Hanuman inspiring stories of the gods and heroes of the past. Among these is the story of Rama, the Ramayana. As the days pass, Hanuman becomes absorbed in the story, and when his mother gets to the point at which Rama meets Hanuman, her son asks in surprise who this character might be. Who is this Hanuman? The Rama story she is telling him is from a previous cycle, a previous Treta Yuga. And the Hanuman of the story was once a monkey child like himself. Hanuman's absorption in the story deepens. Hearing of Sita's kidnapping by Ravana, he weeps. He sighs and says, "If only I were that Hanuman." During the day, he begins to spend more and more time thinking about Rama's story and repeating Rama's name. At times, he becomes lost in meditation and forgets his bodily needs. When his mother admonishes him to take care of himself so that he may serve Rama well, Hanuman asks, "But where is Rama?" Anjana replies that as it is again the Treta Yuga, Rama has taken birth in Ayodhya and begun his earthly mission, which will eventually produce another Ramayana. Hanuman wants to go to Ayodhya at once, but Anjana laughs and pats him to sleep. Rama is only a child now, as are you. And how can a monkey child live among humans? You will go to Rama when the time is right. This awakening of the story, and this is so much of us. I definitely felt this way when I first read the Ramayana. Something like resonated with me. Something captivated me about the story. I wasn't sure what it was. And I think a lot of us, when we come to our Ishta Devata, it would really hit for me when I first read Krishna Lila. So fascinated by it, fascinated by this character, Krishna, who was so different than the Krishna I read about in the Mahabharata, the Krishna I read about in the Bhagavad Gita, this captivating Krishna of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. We recognize something there. We recognize something of who we're supposed to be, of our divine nature. And though we might not be Hanuman, it is said that through examining this literature, we come into contact with our Siddha Deha, our ultimate form in the spiritual world, whether that is one of Hanuman's monkeys, whether that is one of the servants, the Ganas of Lord Shiva, the associates of Lord Shiva in Kailash, or the maidens of Parvati, Shakti Devi in Kailasha and Manidweep, or, more famously, a gopi or a gopa in Vrindavan. Through contemplation of these stories, we slowly begin to realize what our own identity is in them. And I love this idea of the Ramayana as something that continues again and again. Ramayana is an eternal epic. There are Ramayanas from other universes that we don't know about. These things of the scriptures, they come to us down in a certain form, but poets, sadhus, through their inner revelation, right, they are able to bring out aspects of these stories that we would have never seen before. Hence this proliferation of different versions of these narratives. And just one of this, what does the reading of the Ramayana facilitate for us? This is the Falshruti found in the Ramayana, both the Yuddhakanda and the Uttarakanda, two different endings of this Ramayana work. This is translated from Krishna Dharma. What is the merit of reciting this Prabhu Charitra? We have quite a lot to get to tonight, so I won't read these all the way through. But kings will overcome their enemies, conquer the earth. Men will overcome all difficulties, and women will be blessed with excellent sons and grandsons. Those listening to the epic will receive from Sri Rama all the boons that they desire. Through the hearing of this work, all the gods are satisfied. One who keeps a copy in his house will find all his obstacles coming to the end. A man offering worship to and reading this historical work is completely rid of sins and attains a long life, and all the gods are thus pleased, and one's ancestors are gratified forever. All of these things that we may endeavor for, they're fulfilled instantly by reciting the pastimes of the Lord. The gods, Gandharvas, Siddhas, and Rishis always listen with great pleasure to the Ramayana in heaven. This legend is a bestower of longevity, the enhancer of fortune, and the dispeller of sin. It is equal to the Vedas. A man reading even a quarter of it is freed from all sins. Indeed, even if one sins daily, he is released from the reactions if he recites just one verse of the Ramayana. This is clearly not just a story about a king. It's not just a story about a monkey. It's a story that is enacted for our benefit. So that diving into this Ramayana, we find the truth of ourselves. And when we find the truth of ourselves, that ultimate goal of life, then everything else in our life ideally will fall into place. And we conclude by saying, what does it mean for Hanuman to have Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita in his heart? There are many devotees of Lord Rama in the Ramayana. There is Bharata, Jatayu, Shabari, Sugriva, certainly, Vibhishana. So many great examples. Kausalya, so many great paragons of devotion to Lord Rama who have different relationships with Rama. They interact with him in many different ways. Only one is said to keep Rama and Sita in his heart. This is an image from a Hanuman temple inaugurated, I think, pre-pandemic, but fairly recently, within the last kind of 10 years, certainly in Mexico, that enshrines both the Hindu deity Hanuman, and also has shrines to various Mexica and other indigenous Mexican deities. This is a Kali Mandir. Folks, have connections there. And this very famous image of Lord Hanuman, I know isn't he pretty? This beautiful image of Lord Hanuman tearing open his chest to reveal Sita and Rama on the inside. This is all he knows. His heart, where his feelings are, where his emotions are, the god and the goddess reside in there. And thus he has a heart for all beings, because the god and the goddess are the mother and father of all beings. And so not only does Hanuman just have Sita and Rama in his heart, he has all of humanity. Everyone that they love also is in his heart. So it is a symbol not only of his devotion, but his boundless compassion for all sentient beings. And there's a famous story that is alluded to in the Valmiki Ramayana. It is clearly an expansion on it. It is not, as far as I know, recorded in the Tulsidas version, but it is elaborately told in the Bengali Ramayana, the Kritibasa Ramayana, as well as various other versions of the stories. And this is almost always included by modern reciters. So this is at the end of the war when everyone is coming back to Ayodhya. The coronation of Lord Rama that happens on Diwali, or on the holidays following Diwali. After his installation on the throne of Ayodhya, Rama presents rich gifts to the allies who assisted him in the war. However, he gives nothing to Hanuman, who stands attentively near the throne. To Sita, Rama gives a necklace of large pearls that he had earlier received from Vibhishana, who in turn obtained it from Varuna, the ocean god. Recalling her debt to Rama's messenger, Sita places this necklace around Hanuman's neck. Rama has not been witness especially to Hanuman's feats, but Sita has. Hanuman was the one who came for her in the Ashoka Grove. Sita, in particular, has this deep, deep affection for Hanuman. Rama does too, of course. I don't want to downplay Rama's relationship with Hanuman. But Sita, in particular, recognizes that this servant, when Rama is the king administering everyone that he owes, Sita, perhaps he leaves it to Sita, to the Divine Mother, to bestow upon Hanuman his present, his gift. I think that's really, really sweet. Recalling her debt to Rama's messenger, Sita places this necklace around Hanuman's neck. He bows respectfully, then returns to his place and begins to examine each bead carefully. After some time, he puts one in his mouth between his teeth, and there is a loud cracking sound. As the courtiers look on in dismay, Hanuman proceeds to crack open pearl after precious pearl, peering briefly at shiny fragments before brushing them away with his paw. There is a whispering in the court and grumbles about an insult to Her Majesty. Vibhishana appears, embarrassed. Lakshmana glowers. Someone sighs. Well, what do you expect? After all, he's a monkey. They think everything's to eat. Another quotes an old proverb. What does a monkey know of the taste of ginger? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know the value of this. We can excuse him. He's just a monkey. But oh, is this so far from the truth? Finally, one of the courtiers challenges Hanuman to explain why he is destroying this priceless treasure. Hanuman appears surprised. This is a gift from Mother Sita, so it must have some value. I'm just testing to see what that may be. True, such beads glitter, and people sell them for a lot of money, but does that indicate real worth? What is real wealth? Is a theme of this story. According to what I've learned, something has true value if it contains within it the Lord. There's this principle in Vaishnava Vedanta that Maya refers to this world, not just this world, but this Maya as like illusion refers not so much to the world itself, but to the faulty perception of this world. In Vaishnava non-dualism, particularly in this, the Shuddha Dvaita of Vallabhacharya, they emphasize this idea that this whole world is Krishna, this whole world is Ram, this whole world is God. Maya is just our incorrect perception of it. And so while everyone is talking to Hanuman like he's the one with incorrect perception, he is about to prove, no, all of you are actually the ones with incorrect perception. One of the Chatusloki of the Bhagavata says, that which is manifested without a connection to me, know that to be Maya. That's Maya. It's not that this whole world is Maya, but this world is only Maya if you don't see it in connection to Lord Ram. So I'm just searching, he says, to see whether or not one of these stones contain him. But I don't find him. Therefore, the glitter seems like darkness to me. They're bound to shatter someday, so I'm just throwing them away now. Again, murmurs run through the court, and Hanuman's words show devotion, but little practicality as he goes on cracking the pearls. Another courtier speaks up. Look here. Must everything contain God to have value? What about your own body? That's made of the 5 elements. That doesn't have God within it. Hanuman looks up in surprise and he says, is it after all? He rises to his feet, digs his nails into the center of his chest, and begins ripping his own flesh, drawing it back on each side to reveal a ruddy wound. As the courtiers look on aghast, he exposes his beating heart, but their horror turns to amazement when they see Rama and Sita enthroned in Hanuman's heart, just as they are on the dais before them. Just as Rama and Sita are on this dais for Pata Abhishekam, so they are enthroned in Hanuman's heart. And the implication of this story, and at least this beautiful telling by Dr. Lutgendorf, is that this is true of all beings. We all have Sita and Rama speaking to us through our hearts, but we need Hanuman to light it up. We need Hanuman to get us to realize what actually we have inside ourselves. The great Rumi poem says that there's someone knocking on the door from the inside. How many of us, we feel that still small voice within us, Paramatma, directing our guidance, and yet we ignore it because we are clouded by mental misconceptions. Hanuman is the one that sees totally clearly. And thus, Sita and Rama shine magnificently from his heart. They also perceive the name of Rama inscribed on Hanuman's bones. It seems to be in every cell of his body. As all acclaim the monkey's supreme devotion, Rama rises from the throne and embraces Hanuman. He passes his hand over Hanuman's chest, and it instantly becomes whole again. Sita merely smiles. I love that little touch. Hanuman is the embodiment of love for God, but ultimately, God and his love are non different. God and his representative in some ways are non different. We say Guru is God, but what we mean is that through the vessel of the Guru, God is giving instruction. And we can say, oh, this is like a toxic, belief, but like taken in principle, it means that our own fellow living beings, when they speak truth, when they speak righteousness, when they speak good, God is speaking through them. Everyone we meet in our lives as Rama and Sita enshrined in their heart. If only we have the vision to see it. As Ram Dass says, with the right vision, everyone is Guru if you know how to listen. Hanuman's bones are inscribed with this Lakita japa. It makes me think of these. People will, if you go to Hanuman temples, often people write out Rama, 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 Sita Rama, Sita Rama, this form of Lakita japa, this writing japa. And they'll make garlands of this japa of Ramanava and give to Hanuman. We think about how kirtan feels. I think one of the first sensations when we start doing japa, we're doing kirtan, this vibration that goes through our body. That vibration is coursing through Hanuman's body all the time. So when we connect with Hanuman, and particularly the vibrations of this Hanuman Chalisa, the name of Rama is coming through us. And ultimately, the kirtan of Hanuman leads to the kirtan, Sri Rama, Jai Jai Rama. That is the portal, the window into the divine. If we want, Rama is considered this jingoistic figure, this figure of nationalism. All kinds of people try to claim Rama's legacy. Who really has it? That's Hanuman. And even with Hanuman, people try to make him this bellicose figure, this violent figure. But who is Hanuman according to the text, according to these Puranas? He is humility. He is wisdom. He is compassion to the utmost degree. And through there, shines Sita and Rama. Thank you very much. This was a beautiful class to kind of come back to these talks to. We will continue next week with our discussion of the Nectar of Instruction and another installment of these Hanuman Chalisa talks. Jai Sita Rama, Jai Hanuman.